Well, I'm not the world's authority on this at all. Just that I have been made aware of it many, many years ago when I was far much more younger, and I didn't really appreciate the significance of the information at such a young age. But I remembered it, and then later on, I became aware that there were certain individuals I was meeting that were experts on the subject, and so we became very close friends, and I began listening a lot closer to the details of how the world really works. And that's what I would say starting off is the fact that I'm not an authority on any of it. I'm just an ordinary man who's been privileged to be in the company of extraordinarily brilliant people for many, many years on so many different subjects. And so in that particular subject, I've met about five people that, well, more than that, but five major people that were uh, the real bottom line authorities from which everybody else has learned. And and the more, because I was a little older and began to appreciate deeper the things that are being said, it became apparent to me that there's a world of knowledge that's been hidden from the world at large. There's an enormous amount of knowledge that's never been discussed about where things come from,
Yeah.
how the world actually, in fact, works. And the only thing I would tell you at 74 years old, been looking at this stuff for 53, 54 years now, the one thing I would tell you off the bat is nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing is what you think it is. And I used to hear, adults when I was a little kid think, "Oh yeah, the whole world's smoke and mirrors and smoke and mirrors." And I heard that, and the world is not what you think it is. It's smoke and mirrors. What I often wonder, what are you talking about? It's all smoke and mirrors. You walk out in front of a bus and it'll run you over. That's not smoke or mirrors. That's real. So
Yeah.
there is a real world out there. And so I never understood, what are you talking about? Well, of course, now I understand. Yeah, smoke and mirrors in that so much is hidden from you that if you're not educated in a particular subject, then you don't know what's going on. And I've said so often that uh, you know how many airline pilots have lost their lost everything in the stock market? Or how many neurosurgeons and doctors have lost everything in real estate? So just because you're good at what you do, it doesn't mean you know what somebody else knows in their field. And so if you're really wise and learn something in life, if you are a genius, a mathematical genius, but if you need to have an operation, you need to go to a doctor who knows how to do what you need. And so you need to understand, just because you think you're smart, don't bet on it. The really bright and powerful people in this world pay large sums of money to other people who they know are far smarter than they are. The Donald Trumps have people around them that know law and know real estate and know the laws far better than they do. And that's why they're paid large salaries to sit next to the boss and tell him what he can and can't do. And so I learned that a long time ago, that just because you think you know something, you better go back and do your homework, because you're going to find out when you finally get into federal court or finally get into some kind of a serious legal situation in a courtroom, you're going to find out what you didn't know. No, you thought that this, and you thought you had that, and you thought you understood. Now you find out, no, the legal words means that you lose or you're going to jail because you
Hmm.
thought you understood. The words that you use in a court are not the same, they don't mean the same on the street. And that's why you have to have a lawyer speak for you, because
Hmm.
you don't understand court language. And God knows a lot of people have heard me say this, and I'm saying it again. Why do you have to go to court to start with? You go to court because the whole idea is called the commerce game. Look it up
Mm-hmm.
in a dictionary or look it up on the web. Just type in the word commerce game, and you will see that commerce in the world of business is a game. And in any game, there are going to be losers and winners.
Right.
And so we call the losers debtors. The winners are called creditors and debtors in business. And so you're either making money and on top of something, or you lost money and you owe. So there's winners and losers. So when you go to court, it's like playing basketball or tennis on a court. And so how do you play tennis on a court? Well, you play with a racket.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it?
Mm-hmm.
Words, terms, symbols, colors, all kinds of hidden persuaders, hidden ideas and concepts in words. So that's why the attorney will tell you that when you're signing a contract, be sure to read the sign on the dotted line and read the fine print, which I haven't done and a lot of people else haven't done. They thought I understood what I was doing and signed something and then found out I just lost everything. But an attorney will tell you to sign. An attorney will tell you to sign on the dotted line and read the fine print.
Yes.
What is he talking about? He's talking about when you sign a check, you sign on the bottom line, and if you look at it, the bottom line looks like a lot of dots. So you're signing on the dotted line. But get a magnifying glass and look at the line that you're signing, and you will find out they're not dots, they're letters.
Really?
Yes, and so that's why the attorney says, read the fine print. Yeah, read the line you're writing on, get a magnifying glass and read it. And now you see when you're putting your name on that line, you are signatory to what that line says. Go get a magnifying glass and look at a check and see what it says in the fine print. And then when you sign it, you become known as a signatory to what you just read. So most people signed on the dotted line and did not read the fine print and had no idea in the world what they were signing up for. And then you find out it has to do with maritime admiralty. And then they can say, once you sign it and hand it to someone in England, they say checkmate. Because you just wrote a check to us, right, mate? Yeah. Okay, so you just wrote us a check, mate. And where do you have a mate? Well, you have a mate on board ship. Ships
Mm-hmm.
have mates. Well, yes.
That's kind of where it gets into the really interesting thread, as I've heard you talk about before, is the law of the land versus the law of the sea, and
Of the
that
sea. That's right.
law is or that all commerce and all these transactions is part of a network of maritime law. Can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, maritime simply means of the ocean. And in America, there's a concept that's called maritime admiralty.
Mm-hmm.
And it works all over the world. It works all over the world, but it's called maritime admiralty. There are two things on this earth that compose the earth. If you go out in space and look back at the earth, there's two things you see: water and land. Period. So you either have water or you have land.
Mm-hmm.
And so the land, there are two different kinds of law of them. There are two totally different kinds of law: the law of the land and the law of the sea. And so we've heard that term, law of the land. Well, you can't do this because that's the law of the land. Well, law of the land, simply broken down, simply means the law of the culture of the people who live on a particular spot of land. So in China, they have their own culture, their own way of doing things. So we call it the law of the land. So if you're going to if you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. So if you're going to live in China or Africa or Asia or anywhere else in Russia, you have to learn the customs of the people and how they think and how they do business. So that's the law, and how they think, that's the law of the land, because people live on land. However, there is a second law that's far more important. It's the law of water, because water is everywhere. And so the law of water is referred to as maritime admiralty commerce. It's business. Business is banking. So banks operate under the law of water. So that's why money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water. It's the cash flow.
Liquid asset.
Liquid asset.
Yeah.
And so once you begin to perceive the hidden implications of words and terms that we use every day and never for a moment question, why do we use these terms? Well, anytime you're dealing in commerce or business, money, look up the word commerce in a law dictionary. The word commerce, most people think means business. Well, yes, that's one interpretation. But the very first understanding of commerce in a law dictionary is sex. Sex is referred to in law as commerce. Look it up in the law dictionary.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's why. So that's why if you are, when I see you with some young woman that I know, I say to you, this girl you're with is very bad company. She's bad company. And you say, mind your own business. We're going to get married and she's going to be my partner. Partner, business, company. We're talking about a business here. That's right. And what I'm doing is none of your business. So, mind your own business. She's my partner.
And this gets into how it affects the individuals, because we hear about when you're born, there's a public you and a private you. This gets into that same thread, right? How does this stuff affect the individual?
Well, and so that's true. So when you're born, the first thing that the hospital does is that they take and roll some ink on the baby's, the bottom of the baby's foot, and take an imprint, an imprint or a photocopy, or whatever you want to call it, of the baby's foot, of both feet. Why? It's because that's what your soul is. They now own your soul.
Ah.
Yeah, it's the sole of your foot. And so they now, by law, have registered your soul. They own you. And this is before you even put your foot on land, because once a human's foot touches land, once you start to walk, you are now referred to in international law as a man on the land. You are now a human creature that is endowed with certain privileges and rights given to you by the Creator. But until you put your foot on land, you have no standing in law. So therefore you have to be represented by a lawyer who has passed the bar, and he has standing. His feet are on the ground. So it's a very interesting, but I guess the word is arcane or occult. Occult simply means hidden.
Right.
Look it up in a dictionary. Nothing evil about it. It means hidden. And so much of real wisdom and knowledge, de jure, legitimate wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, has been hidden. Just as your parents have obviously hidden a lot of stuff from you when you were a child. You don't need to know about their private life. You don't need to know about your father's business when you're 6 years old. All you need to know is that who the boss is. That's all you need to know. And
Yeah.
so you're not being told by your superiors. Well, the same thing as you grow up. All adults are today are grown-up children. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to have a parent who takes care of us. Well, there is a law in international law. There's a law that's called parentis. I think I'm saying that right. There's a law now that you can look it up in the dictionary, and that means in law and Latin that the government is your parent. It actually owns you. The government actually, in fact, point of fact, lawfully, and any good constitutional attorney and any good lawyer that's honest with you and intellectually honest will tell you, yes, in point of fact, the government does own your body, period.
Right.
So you can think whatever you want if you're ignorant and ill-informed and unread and pompous and arrogant and know everything there is to know about everything in the whole world, then go on and believe whatever you want. But the bottom line is there will come a day when you will find out you are not the boss and the master of your own destiny. You will find that the police can come in, break down your door, arrest you, and put you in jail. Why? Because you don't own you. If you own you, nobody can talk, nobody can touch you. But you don't own you. When you were born, you were owned as a maritime admiralty product under international maritime admiralty law. That's the way the law works. And until and unless you educate yourself as to how this stuff really works, what the words mean, how the system actually works, you're never going to figure out what's going on the earth. And it's all been hidden. And all of these subjects are what I call need to know. And you don't need to know. All you need to do is go do your job and watch basketball and be like all the others, go to the ball game and drink your beer and have a good time and go party. And that's all you need to know until your masters get ready for you. And when your masters want you, they will call for you, like the king. The king lets you do anything you want. You're having fun. You're drinking your beer and doing your street fights and play with your motorcycles and all your silly games that you do in life until the authorities come for you. And when they come for you, they come with a heavy iron boot. And for the first time, you find out you thought you were Al Capone. You thought you were invincible. You were John Gotti. You thought you were invincible, that you are somebody. You are nobody.
And they always get those guys with taxes too.
That's right. All you got to do is mess up one time, and they got 500 things they can bring you in on. But they let you play out there, let the kids play in the sandbox. But if he gets out of line and he disturbs me, I'm going to go out in the play box and I'm going to do a number on that kid he's never going to forget. And so that's the way it works in this world. I don't care how smart you think you are. I don't care if you got a law degree. You have no idea where the word degree comes from and what the word law means in the ancient tongue. And so, when a guy goes to college to become an attorney or a lawyer, there's a big difference between an attorney and a lawyer. One practices in law, one practices at law. That's why when you get married, you have in-laws. So I don't know where to start because this is such a good story.
It's right. I'm always fascinated with that. Every time you throw out a new term that we're so used to using that I've used my whole life and that you put it in that context, it's very curious. I love that stuff. But let me ask you about the masters themselves. These powerful people have carefully laid this hidden framework on us. The control is working, but I want to know who's doing all this. Who's really in charge? Because we have guests who say it's the secret societies or the royal families or the Vatican or the Jewish banking families or even the reptilians, and it all seems a little hazy for me. But where do you think the real power lies in modern times? Where did this get laid down on us?
Yeah, it's a little hazy for me too. I've been looking at it for 50 years. It's still hazy for me. I think it's because the system is so old. Nothing uh, comes out of a vacuum. Nothing. You did not come into the world at an immaculate conception. You had a mother and father. Well, how did they get here? Well, they had a mother and father. Well, how did your grandfather get here? Well, he had a mother and father. So nothing appears in this world that doesn't have, a history. And so the presence of the powers, the dark, and I do mean dark, the dark powers that are behind the world scenes, uh, that the politicians, and especially the higher up ones at the very top politicians, they know what's going on. They know they have masters, and they understand that, and they work with it. And because of that, they're able to do certain things and able to officiate over certain things, always keeping in mind that there are hidden powers that are watching them.
Right.
And at any time those hidden powers decide that you have served your purpose, you will be removed. Now, if you if you're like Nixon, they will remove you. The hidden powers remove you by disgracing you and having Senate hearings to expose you. Or if you are really smart, well financed, which Nixon wasn't, but if you're really smart and well financed and protected, like John Kennedy, well, okay, we'll just whack you then. We'll just blow your brains out.
Right.
So, yeah. Now, what is the country going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? We blew your president's brains out in public. Now, what are you going to do about that? Well, somebody's going to go to jail. Who? Well, Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay, then we'll kill him. So now who's going to go to jail? Well, the guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, he probably knew something. Well, then we'll kill him. Now, what you going to do about that? So nobody, period, goes to jail for killing Kennedy. Period. Why? Is because the powers that be behind the world throne have been there for thousands of years. That's why, that's why your father, when you were 5 years old, was far more superior to you than you will ever have imagined. You can't do much of anything. He is the boss, period. And obviously at work, he has bosses too. And those guys at work who are his bosses, they have bosses. So that's the way it works. You go up the pyramid. We're on the bottom of the pyramid, and you work your way up till you get up to the Donald Trumps, and then from there you get into the international bankers, and from the international bankers you get into the people who run the international bankers, the Vatican, the Jesuits in the Vatican. Then from there you go behind the Vatican to the Roman Empire, to the Caesars of Rome. And behind the Caesars of Rome, you have the Pisos family, spelled Picos, Arius, Copernicus, Pisos, and the Pisos family, who were the powers, the international Illuminati powers behind the Caesars of Rome. The Caesars who ruled Rome as emperors were not God. They thought they were God until one of the Caesars got killed by the Senate. So when you understand, you keep going up in power. The higher up you go, the more powerful the people are. And like Michael Corleone said in Godfather 3, at the end of the movie in Godfather 3, Michael is sitting on the porch with his sister, and he says some profound, well, a lot of profound things said in Godfather, but the one thing he says at the end of Godfather 3, he says to his sister, all of my life, I have always assumed that the higher up you go in society, the more correct and lawful things have to be. Now I look back on my life and I realize it's just the opposite. Meaning, the higher up you go in this world, the more criminal it is.
Yeah.
Until you get to the top of the heap, and there you find the real criminals. These people do not rob, with a gun and take $50 from you. No, they rob nations. They take the gold from South Africa. They take the diamonds. They take the oil from the Middle East. Lust is lust. I mean, you're looking at the girl's butt while they're looking at the bauxite mines in South Africa. So, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful men have very powerful taste. And while you want that new car, they want Alaska.
Right. Yeah.
So, so it's human going all the way up the ladder to the worst humans on the earth, period.
Well,
now, I personally, it's just my opinion, but I personally believe at the top of the world, if you go up to the top of the pyramid, to the very tip of the top, the most powerful on the earth are not human.
Yeah.
I believe they are extraterrestrial, meaning they're not from here. They may look like humans. They may, if you ever met one, which you won't. I could go into a lot of stories about that. My wife, when I met her in 1967 and got married in '67, that's a lifetime ago.
Mm-hmm.
She was working as a secretary for a mafia don in Los Angeles, and I met him. She was his secretary. But she was just an ordinary secretary, working for a very powerful man. But she knew who he was, and I learned when I got married who he was. But he and I used to sit and chit-chat and talk and go out to breakfast and lunch because he liked me, because he liked talking with me. And I liked him because he was very generous and kind and courteous to me and to my wife. And so we had a very, very nice relationship. But I know who he is, and he knows I know who he is. And but he would tell me things about the mafia and La Cosa Nostra and the international crime syndicates, of which he was a major player. And he would tell me, he would say, Jordan, look at the real people who run this world, you and the world at large will never, in all of your life, you will never, ever hear their names, see their faces, or know anything about them, period. Ever. Not the government, not the president, not the, I don't care who, not the FBI, nobody.
Right.
The guys who run this planet are in places you don't even know exist, and they call the shots. And you better believe the people who run this planet are powerful and out of sight. So don't even worry about trying to figure it out, because you ain't never going to figure this out. And so I realized, he's right, because everybody has a boss, and that boss has a boss, and how high up does it go? Well, I am of the opinion, and I'm an old man, I've been looking at it for 54 years, I'm of the opinion that if you keep having bosses over bosses over bosses, eventually you're going to get back to God.
Well, yeah.
Eventually you're going to get back to the divine presence, the spiritual dark powers of the air, like the Bible speaks of. And all of the ancient religions and all the religions of the world today acknowledge that there are unseen powers around us. Christians call them demons, devils, and spirits and ghosts, and Jews call them, Rephiim, and all kinds of words in the Hebrew. And in the Islamic world, they're called jinns and or genies. I don't care what you call them. Whatever it is not of this world, but they are here, and they see you. You don't see them, and they let you think that you're in power. But they will deal with you anytime they please. So you mess up spiritually, and they will bring you down big time, because you don't know who they are. You don't know what they can do.
Yeah.
And that's why I would advise anybody listening to me, if you have any, if you put any store by my words, I would suggest no one have anything to do with an Ouija board. Because a board is probably one of the worst things a human can touch.
Why is that?
It's like giving a child a hand grenade and pulling the pin on it, and then putting it in his hand and grasping his hand around the grenade and telling him he can play with it. Well, as soon as he releases that lever, all the world is going to come to an end for him. Well, that's the same thing I consider the Ouija board to be. It's like a hand grenade in your hand, and you have no idea in the world what you are asking for and what you're looking to do. And when it happens, then you'll find out, but it's way too late. So Ouija boards are one, and there's all kinds of dark arts and all the secret societies with their rituals.
Right, yeah.
Blood rituals and human sacrifices and killing babies. And if you want a taste of that, you can go to the movie Eyes Wide Shut.
Right.
And watch that with watch that with a brain. Because the Bible says you have eyes that do not see, and you have ears that do not hear. And with your heart, you do not get the sense of it. So if you want to go back and see what I'm talking about talk about the dark side, go watch the movie Eyes Wide Shut with intellectual acumen, with your eyes wide open, because that's what the producer was saying. You're looking at the world with your eyes wide shut. You think you know what's going on. You haven't got the faintest idea in the world how your mother and your father and you and your brother and your wife and your children are owned. Your body as a security on the New York Stock Exchange. And you have no idea how it works. You never were told. And because you're arrogant, self-centered, egotistical, know-it-all, and pompous, you would never even consider the fact that anybody owned you. Well, you got another thing coming, son. You better look at your children, at your wife, your family, your mother. Everybody on this earth is owned because we are all part of a system. And this system's been around for thousands of years, replicating itself, evolving and mutating and becoming more and more professional with computers now and all kinds of high technology. But the system is the same. It's the same old system of commerce, sex, that was developed in the ancient world, going back to far before the Grecian Empire, way before Rome, going back into the ancient Phoenician Canaanite systems, into ancient India, to the Hindu systems, into Egypt, the Egyptian magical system of commerce. You better wake up and find out that what's going on this earth has been going on for thousands of years, perfecting itself. The Egyptians perfected their magical connections to money, to human resources. They knew about maritime law. They knew about the law of the sea. It's a hell of a story.
Yeah, it definitely is, and there's so many different threads to it. It's it takes a lifetime, man, and you've definitely spent your time doing that. But
and I paid for it too, believe me.
Right.
Yeah.
Another area I'm really interested in that you just kind of alluded to is these otherworldly entities and where they tie in with the elite, because it seems like we hear stories, and I've had guests who talk about high up there on the pyramid, there seems to be some otherworldly entities that the elite still worship, that they consider superior. And
they better.
Yeah, and it's just so weird
because they are superior.
Right, and they keep them so secret from us. Like, who are they? Who are the elite worshiping?
Well, look at. First of all, I tend to. I want to say this right, so people don't go out and say I said something I didn't say. But I tend to appreciate and understand. It doesn't mean I'm happy with it. It doesn't mean I agree with it. But I at least am intellectually astute enough to understand it. and to appreciate the concepts that the elite, there's a reason why we call them elite, but the elite are not sharing this kind of knowledge, and they have their own world of worship and their own world that they live in. But I am of the opinion that I understand the elite's conceptual ideas about why they don't tell us, why we're not being informed, and why they, the elite, form themselves into secret societies. Let me explain. That's what you do. You do the same thing that they do. They just do it better than you. They do it on a bigger scale than you. And when I say you, I mean the world of mankind, all of us. Regular humans will steal a couple of bucks here or lie about a couple of bucks there on income tax or keep something that they know is not theirs, but it's not that big a deal. Well, that's what they do. They steal the bauxite mine from Africa. They steal the gold mines from California. It's not that big a thing. But so it's the same. They're just big and what we are is small. And so when you understand how the elite think, I understand it. I'm not happy with it, but I understand it. They, the elite, look at us, the people, and see, in fact, what we are. And they treat us accordingly, like you. You have your personal friends that you like, that are into, that are on the same wavelength you are, that you can talk to, that you can have fun with, and that they understand what you understand. And so you get along with them great. You're nice to other people, but you have your personal friends that you enjoy being around. Why? Because they're like you. You like them, they're like you. The same thing for the elite. They deal in the world that they deal with, but they have a special secret group. And I understand them. I do too. I have a handful of people around me that are my personal friends for many years. I love them dearly. I trust them with my life. And we've been friends for many years, and that's just the way it is. Humans have friends, and good friends, real friends. And so do they, the elite. But they realize they don't want you in their personal company, because first of all, you're not on their level. You don't have the money they have. You don't have the experience that they have. You don't have the position of authority they have. As a matter of fact, you don't have much of anything that they have. So in what way would they be wanting your company? The same thing is true with people tell me all the time when I'm talking about UFOs, which is one of my favorite subjects. But people will say to me, if there are aliens here, why don't they come down and show themselves and talk to us, and explain to us so that we would understand? To which I answer and say, look it, I'm human like you are, and I don't want to talk to you. I don't even like being in your company myself, and I'm human like you are. I wouldn't give you the time of day either. So can you imagine someone who is so far superior to you and has evolved 100 million years ago on another planet and another world that is so far superior to you that they look like God? Why would they want to come down? When was the last time you sat down on a sidewalk in your city and tried to discuss Einstein's theory of relativity to an ant colony? Why would you make yourself look like a fool trying to talk to ants? Well, why would alien life forms who are millions of years in our future, probably far, far smarter than we are, because they came here, we didn't go there. They found us in this God incredible, huge universe. They found us, we didn't find them. We got our little Mickey Mouse dishes out there looking for Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. While these entities have come from millions of light years away, they are far superior to you. They have no intentions of talking to you. They may eat you, but they're not interested in conversing with you. Well, the same thing is true for the elite in this world who are running the planet. They don't have time to be in your company to enlighten you. And the most important reason why is because they know you're too stupid, you're too ill-informed, unread, self-centered, egotistical, self-aggrandizing, ignorant, and you have no respect whatsoever for power, for knowledge, for wisdom. You're just good for your baseball games and your beer drinking and your parties, and you're worrying about your taxes and paying your bills and arguing with your wife and slapping your kids and so why would higher intelligent people in this world have anything to do with you? They view
Right.
us as useless eaters, which actually, in point of fact, begins to look like the case. We just keep reproducing ourselves on the earth by the millions, and those millions have millions of more babies, and more babies have more babies, until one day you got 7.5 billion people which are going to replicate themselves and reproduce themselves into 14 billion people.
Right.
That 14 billion people will replicate and reproduce themselves into 28 billion people. And the best part about it is that the 28 billions of people will look at the world that they live in just like it's always been here. We've always had 7-Eleven stores. We've always had grocery markets. We've always had a new car dealership. This is the way the world has always been for 1,400,000 years. Is we've always had the grocery stores and supermarkets and Sears and fresh water and baby diapers. We've always had that for at least 500,000 years. We've always had this, and it will always be the same. Well, I got news for you, son. You better wake up and find out America has not always been here.
Right.
Over 250 years ago, there was no United States of America.
Yeah.
There was no freedom. And I got news for you. What you thought you had, it's gone. You are not free. We're not living in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Like Dick Gregory says, you ain't free or brave. You are owned. You don't think so? Go out and try it. So the point I'm making, that's why you have to have a permit to do this. You got to have a permit to mow your lawn. You got to have a license to do this. You got to have a license to do that. You got to check with the county board of commissioners if you're going to do this. You got to check with the Secretary of State if you're going to do that. You are in a system, and that system has come down to us from thousands of years ago. Our monetary system. You know, when you're writing on a piece of paper an amount of money, you always put in front of the amount, you put a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little icon, which symbolizes money, right? And it looks like an S with a line through it, an I through it. And sometimes it's got two I's through the S. You understand what I'm talking about?
Right, right.
Okay. Well, originally, it was not two lines. Originally, if you go back to the reference books and look it up like I do, you will find that it was not two lines, it was one line.
Okay.
And so you have an S with one line through it. The line is the letter I. And the S stands for, it's I-S, is. That's what is. I-S. I-S stands for insurance script, like scripture, something you write. So I is insurance and S is script. So money is referred to in international elitist circles, not for us, but the guys who run the planet. It's called insurance script. Insurance script came into being in 1871. Before your great-grandma was born. And it was called insurance script. And it's based on the idea that your body, your physical body, is worth money. You are worth money. We call it slavery. No, I can buy. And we still have slavery in many ways. Slavery is not gone.
No.
You buy a prostitute. What is that? It's slavery. She's selling herself to you for money. Well, the same thing you do when you go to work. You're selling yourself to someone else, and for 8 hours, they own you. You don't tell them, they tell you. And so it's all based on commerce. Commerce is sex. And also, if you look in the dictionary, look in the law dictionary, all of our laws in commerce are under the auspices of what we call the Congress. Congress regulates commerce. The word Congress, which regulates commerce, commerce is sex. Congress means, in a law dictionary, sex.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up in a law dictionary, look up the word Congress. And that's why you have to have an act of Congress. It's a sexual act.
Ah.
And so, yeah, and so it all has to do with water, maritime amplitude, because you are 72% water. And so since you are you're a water, pure water product, and you are a biological battery. You have an electrical system in your body. I don't know if you understand that or not, but your heart is beating because of an electrical impulse. Your muscles move, your legs and your arms, and you live because of electricity.
Right.
Leads, elect. You get elected with electricity. So follow my thinking. So you are a biological battery. So when you go into court, that's why you have a fence and a gate in a court. People go to court never ever suspecting that the reason why they're sitting on this side of the fence, and then when you're called, you get up and walk through the gate. Now you're in hot water. And somebody's going to have to bail you out. So if you can't make bail, then they're going to put you in a battery. It's called a cell. So they're going to put you in a cell because you're a maritime amplitude water product, and they're going to put you as an electrical unit. They're going to put you in a cell. That's what we call batteries.
Right.
And so all of this has to do with an arcane, occult, hidden world of knowledge, which most people on the earth don't even begin to understand the word occult, much less the implications of it. So I'm saying that when you go to a bank, why do you have to put money into a bank? And where did the word money come from? Well, all of this sounds like, sounds like trivia pursuit. Well, you think it's trivia? Wait till they bring your butt into a federal courtroom.
True.
Wait till you are summoned by the federal government and get a letter from the Department of Justice that you are being indicted under federal law, and you'll see how trivial this information and knowledge is. Well, the first time you wake up and find out, son, you're not living in a trivial world. There are people who own you, and they're allowing you to have fun and do your beer drinking and go to ball games as long as you remember who the boss is. And so my kind of knowledge is not trivia. It's deadly. Because once you understand how this world works and where it all came from and what the words really mean and how this world system actually works, then you're going to see this is not trivia. This is deadly. Right. This is real stuff that Jordan Maxwell has been dealing with for over 50 years. And most people hearing me have no idea in the world of the implications of what I'm talking about. But at 74 years old, I don't care anymore. I just do what I do, and if you're smart enough to figure out what I'm talking about and wake up, then more power to you. If you're not smart enough, I don't care. So my feeling is, if somebody's supposed to hear me, they will. If they're not supposed to hear me, they won't. I leave that up to God. I don't care anymore. I just do what I do.
Yeah.
But you need to understand that your life is based on water. And so you came down the birth canal and your mother's water broke. So
Ah,
you came out, yeah, you came out of your mother's water.
yeah.
And so you came out as a maritime water product. You came down the canal, a water broke, and you are now a maritime admiralty product. You're 74% water. Wake up. Therefore, if you're going to live in this world, you're going to be on a ship because the earth is considered under international law in Europe, the earth is considered a ship in space. It's called a vessel. A vessel in space. That we are on a ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a spaceship. We are sailing through the universe on a vessel. This is why you are sailing through life through a blood vessel. Your blood is your vessel. Your body is your vessel, and the blood is the water on which you are floating in life. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a blood vessel. You are a vessel. And so since you are a vessel, that means you're a ship. So if you're going to be alive and work with us and live with us here, then you're going to be a citizenship. So you have to join a citizenship, and then you can get a scholarship, courtship, go down the line, a dealership, all kinds. Look at all the words that end in ship. I mean, I had a whole about 30 or 40 of them.
Right.
Companionship, scholarship, marksmanship, there's all kinds of ships. Why? Because the whole world works on water, period,
Right.
including your bank. Where do you find a bank? You go to a bank and you're signing on the dotted line that you didn't read the fine print. Well, where do you find water? Where do you find a bank? You go to a bank. How many people go to a bank and have no idea where the word bank comes from?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the bank is on both sides of a river. It's called a river bank. What does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because your money is liquid asset. It's a current, ebb and flow. It takes some in, puts some out. It comes in, goes out. But once you understand that you are a product, a human developed product, your mother, first of all, your father, man, M-A-N, manufactured you. And your mother was in a delivery room. She
Hmm.
delivered the product. Yeah, and
Wow.
so she's in a delivery room and she's in labor.
Wow.
She's building you. She's in labor delivering the product that your father manufactured. Get it?
Yeah, man.
And so once you see that, and then you will become a maritime admiralty product, money goes through your hands like water. And in order to be a good Christian, you have to be baptized, which means you have to go back into the lake or into the pool and go back into your mother's water. Go back into Mother Earth, Mother Nature. The earth is your mother. So you go back to your mother's water to be born again. Get it?
Yeah.
So when you begin to see how religion works, how the churches work, what is a synagogue? Where do mosques come from? Who are the Islamic peoples? Why do we call them Arabic? What do these words mean? All I'm telling you is the entire world you live under, you don't understand nothing.
Right. And in terms of us being products, you mentioned this earlier that each person is traded on the New York Stock Exchange.
That's right.
How literal is that? And who's trading us?
International banks who own you, the corporation that owns you. There's a well, that's a whole story in itself. Just go on the web. Just go on the web to U.S. Just type in this. U.S. is a corporation. That's all.
Okay.
Very
Right
simple.
on.
Go on the web. U.S. is a corporation. Read it all, and then go on YouTube and type in the same thing. U.S. is a corporation, and listen to the next 500 hours of lectures explaining it. It's maybe 1,000 hours of
Right.
all kinds of experts around the world explaining maritime admiralty, corporations, how the governments work, how banks work. Where do we get the word money from? Money comes from the Roman goddess Juno, like Juneau, Alaska.
Hmm.
With Juno in Rome, there was a goddess named Juno Moneta. And Juno Moneta had a temple on something called Capitoline Hill. Capitoline Hill in Rome was the seat of power for Caesar. Caesar ruled the Roman Empire from a place called Capitoline Hill. In English, it's called Capitol Hill.
Hmm.
So the more we change, the more we stay the same. We still have a Capitol Hill. Well, go look up go to a dictionary, a law book, no, go to an encyclopedia and get an encyclopedia and read about the Roman Empire. And it will tell you that Caesar ruled Rome from Capitol Hill, and that it was said in Latin in Rome every morning Caesar, quote, would go up on the hill, end quote. Well, that's what we still say today. Well, up on the
Right.
hill today, what are you talking about, up on the hill? That is a word taken from the Latin for the realm of Caesar on Capitol Hill, Capitoline Hill. So
Hmm.
we are a Roman Vatican Jesuit operation. We call it the United States as a Vatican Jesuit Vatican operation. But happily, the Jews don't know that. They think they are run everything. Happily, the Muslims don't know that. They think they run everything. Happily, the white folks, the white Americans, they think they run everything. No, actually, your masters who own you is the Vatican and the Jesuit and what we call the Knights Templars or the International Order of High Finance out of Europe and Asia. We're talking about secret societies that have been around for thousands of years and perfected itself under the Roman Empire, under Caesar, and eventually perfected itself after the fall of the Roman Empire. It mutated into what we call the Vatican, and today the Vatican gives us what we call canon law, which is the basis for maritime admiralty law, which is the basis for insurance companies and the Federal Reserve. You need to wake up and find out what's really going on here, son.
Yeah, man, I love this stuff, and the material is so dense and so vast, but we're getting pretty deep into the show. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the elite themselves. There's a lot of speculation about what they're up to today. I mean, we talked about they might be dealing with extraterrestrials, they might be dealing with otherworldly entities that they worship. But we also hear that they have a lot of secret technologies, that they might be years beyond us, and they're doing all kinds of strange things, maybe teleportation and colonizing Mars. Are you privy to any of that information, or have you
Yes,
have you
I
had
am,
people
but
come?
yes, I am. Yes, I have been in the company of astronauts, scientists, physicists. I belong to organizations. I belong to some very prestigious organizations because they like me and I like them, and they allow me to be a member and to listen to them and hear them what they're doing. I'm not privy, so you don't have to worry about assassinating or killing. I'm not privy to any of the real dark stuff, and neither is anybody else. But I am privy to know a lot of very powerful people in government and science and astronauts, as I said, and I sit and talk with them, and I've heard them for years. I used to sit for hours listening to scientists talk about things that nobody's ever heard. So, yeah, I understand basically what's going on, but I also understand and got it down that you talk about some of this stuff and they will whack you. You know,
Right.
you could get, if they'll, first of all, they'll throw you in jail. If that doesn't work, they'll just kill you. And I understand why. But, but anyway, in answer to your question, yes. Um, the technology, understand this. The best technology that we have today, the best of the best that we have today is technology that the government had many years ago and doesn't use it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
but it cost the government money. They had to pay the scientists and provide them with the equipment and laboratories and all that. And that cost an enormous amount of money to finance the scientific community around the world to develop high technology. So therefore, the governments, and especially the international banks that finance the governments, they are putting up the money for science to do its job. They're building the observatories and the laboratories and financing all the stuff for the scientists of the world. They want their money back. It would be nice if they can make their money back. So
Mm-hmm.
they do. They do. When the information that is developed by these scientists from around the world and all this high technology, that's what the government wanted. That's what they're paying for. That's what the bankers wanted. But now that they've got that information, newer technology is coming out, better technology. We had Mickey Mouse IBM stuff back in the World War II, but today's computers don't even can hold a candle to for what
Right.
they used to have. And so today, the top technology we are given today in the stores today is technology that the government doesn't need anymore. It's junk. So they give it to us, and we think, wow, man, we're on the cutting edge. You are on the cutting edge. But your masters don't need this crap. They've got stuff you have no idea in the world they've got.
The wrong end of the cutting edge.
That's it. So the president of Skunk Works, when he retired, this is out there on the web, and it's been, a lot of people know this. The head of Lockheed Skunk Works, when he retired, I think his last name was Kelly. I'm trying to remember exactly. But he said in his retirement speech, we have already taken E.T. home. Period.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So what does that mean? Well, E.T. came from out there, and E.T. wanted to go home. Well, we've already gone there. We just didn't tell you. And so, well, how did you do it? We didn't see any rockets. No. You use rockets. We put those big boosters out there for you to see. So that impresses children. They all get their American flags and run out there, all these alcoholics and beer drinkers, and they all go out there and watch the big rocket take off and blow out millions and millions of tons of highly toxic fumes that's killing the planet. But it looks very impressive to all the beer drinkers and all the party goers and all the goofballs and ill-informed, unread Americans. They think it's very impressive. So they watch the rocket go up. No, we've got technology, son, that you don't even begin to understand. The elite are not many things, but stupid ain't one of them. And so that's why you have places like Area 51 and S4 and all of these top secret bases. I've been out there. I know what's out there. I've seen it. And so I know what's going on in this world. And believe me, it's frightening because you have no idea in the world how technically advanced some people on this planet really are. And I'm just saying people. I don't know who they are because they've got technology that they look to me like gods. They can do stuff that you cannot even believe.
Are there any examples of that technology you can safely give?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Gordon Cooper, the astronaut, the national hero, Gordon Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, yeah.
I've got a private conversation that he was involved in, and he was being interviewed for a television show, but on the TV show he was only on for about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes at the most of an hour show, and it was on UFOs and all that kind of thing. And so I got a copy from the producer of the whole show. That's a long time ago. But in it, he was talking off camera. He was talking about some of the really high-tech stuff that nobody knows about. And nobody's ever heard this before. But he said, I was in Virginia. He was talking to the person interviewing him off camera. And he said, yeah, I was in Virginia a couple of months ago, and I dropped by to see a scientist friend of mine that I had known for many years, a good friend, but he works for the government at this particular secret laboratory in Virginia. And he said, so I dropped by to see him. This is Gordon Cooper, the astronaut.
Right.
And he says, my friend said, I guess, and he said, well, he had this metal table, looked like an exercise table, and some all kinds of high class equipment. And he said, I asked him, what's the table for? Looks like, where you create Frankenstein. And he said, no, I'll show you what it is. He said, so he went over to a cage and got a dog and put the dog on the table and locked the dog on the table with a little chain, locked him on. And he said, so go sit over here and watch. And he turns on this machine, and Gordon Cooper said, I saw this dog with my own eyes disappear in front of me. And then he took me down the hallway. He took me down the hallway to another room, looked very similar, another table, and he said, sit over there. And he turns on the machine, and after a little while, it's up to par. And he says, and I've slowly but surely began to perceive an image on the table until finally the dog was fully there. I personally saw a dog disappear and reappear in another room. Wow. So I know, so he said, I know that we have the technology to decompose molecular structure of a living creature and recompose it in another place. That I know for sure. I saw it.
Wow.
So I'm saying to myself, if this is Gordon Cooper, the astronaut, and he's telling this off record, then this is telling me that we have technology today. That was a long time ago. That was said.
Mm-hmm.
But today there is technology that would blow your mind. You have no idea. We know that the Japanese are working on computers that don't even exist. It's in the air, and you can type stuff into the air, and you can see the computer in the air. It's not even there. Wow. And it's all kinds of interesting stuff. They have. I mean, I can tell you some of the most extraordinary stuff going on. I don't even know where to start with this stuff because I'm not the world's foremost authority on any of this.
How about anything? How about anything in the realm of tapping into another dimension or opening some kind of gateway? I've heard rumors of stuff like that. Anything you could tell us about that?
Oh, of course. They did that with the Philadelphia experiment.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was close friends with, he's still alive. I'm not going to give his name. He's still alive. He's a major, major name in the science community, and I do mean major. And I was close friends with him. I used to go to dinner with him and many other scientists like him. And one night in Pasadena, we were at dinner and talking about, and I'm not talking, I don't know from nothing, but I'm in the presence of a bunch of profoundly important people, and I'm listening to them and happy to be in their company that they are talking in front of me. And so when the conversation quieted down, I spoke up, and I only opened my mouth to change feet. And so I said to him, I said, what can you tell me? I addressed this to my friend, the physicist, who is a world-class physicist. I said, what can you tell me about the Philadelphia experiment? And he said, Jordan, I'm not at liberty to talk about that. Well, being stupid and younger, I didn't realize. So I opened my mouth again, and I said, well, I don't want any national secrets, of course, but is there anything you can tell me? And he said to me in front of everyone, Jordan, listen to what I'm saying. I'm not at liberty to talk about that subject, so please drop it. And I was, of course, obviously and correctly ashamed. It made me look like a fool in front of everybody else. But in point of fact, he answered my question. For a few years later, when I was a little older, I began to look back on that, and I thought, he answered my question. And the way he did it was very simple.
Yeah.
I asked him, what can you tell me? And he said, I can't tell you nothing, so shut up. Well,
That means there's something
me,
there.
that tells me what I needed to know, so shut up. It must be serious if this man's not talking. And why? Because there was a lot of people around the table. He was a good friend of mine and possibly would have told me in private. But because there were a lot of people around the table, he was very, very right in assuming there might be a plant here. Maybe somebody is here that's monitoring what I say. So I'm going to let everybody know I ain't even talking about that, period. So, but one of the most important scientists that was connected to the Philadelphia experiment, and of course I know Al Bielek for years, and he and I have done seminars together. I've done many seminars with Al Bielek. We did seminars together with Preston Nichols, Al Bielek, and myself back in Philly. We did a couple long weekends together. But I've known all of these people for many years. I've sat and talked with them. So I know basically what's going on here. And what is actually happening is frightening. Because I realize that my fellow man, my fellow countrymen, have no idea in the world what's going on and what the technology is. And it's a shame to have to say this about Americans and about mankind in general, but it's true. That people have no power to do anything. America is powerless. The American people have no power to do anything. You just shut up and go to work and pay your bills and drink beer and go out to the ball game and enjoy life and keep your mouth shut. Okay? And if we want anything out of you, we'll knock it out of you. And so it's unfortunate that American people, especially my own people, the Americans, of which I love the country. I love America, what it did for me and my family. I love my country, but the people of America have no power because knowledge is power, and they have no knowledge.
Well said.
But if you understand, if you had knowledge about how this world really, in point of fact, works, if the people of America ever woke up and found out how this stuff really works, and then you would be frightened. Then you would see why I am so depressed and frightened, because I know things you don't know. And so it's quite a story. Incidentally, that's why you have to get a license when you get married. Same reason why you have to license when you are going to be an attorney, a lawyer, or do anything. You've got to get a license. Because a license is a permit to do something, which without that permit would be unlawful. So it's unlawful for you to pick a woman and live with her. It's not lawful.
Right.
So therefore you have to have a license. Why? Because what you don't know is your body. We'll go back to that for a moment. Your body is a corporation. Right. That's why when you die, you are a corpse. Because you're a corporation. Your body is a company. And that's why I said, your girlfriend's body. I say she's bad company. And you say, mind your own business. Oh, you're doing business with her? Yeah, she's going to be my partner. Oh, really? What kind of business are you doing with her? Monkey business? What kind of business are you doing? Well, if you're doing business, you might produce a product. Get it? Yeah.
Right. Full circle.
Yeah, full circle. And now, therefore, if your body is a corporation and she is a corporation, then that means two businesses, of which it ain't none of my business, but two businesses are getting together to do business. Well, remember, like the mafia says, there's nothing personal, it's just business. So if your business with her don't seem to work out, you're not going to God, you're going to court and bring your money and your house and your car and everything else you own because it's just business, nothing personal. She
Wow.
was a corporation, and you are a corporation. And for two corporations like General Motors and Ford Motor Company getting together to create a new product, that's fine. You can do that, but you better talk to the lawyers first. You better get your legal team at General Motors to look at what you're going to do with Ford, and Ford better look at their legal team and look at the laws and the federal laws and international monetary laws to see what you're going to do is going to be legal with the powers that be.
Yeah.
Get it? So
Yep.
that's why you have to have a license because you're getting ready to do some business.
Wow. Man, you
And
make it seem so simple, but yeah, it's obviously been so hidden, but you make it seem so clear. And
well, it is clear once you study it for 50 years.
yeah. Well, hey, man, this has been great. We're getting kind of close to the end of this interview. Obviously, I had a ton of stuff I wanted to ask you about the elite and about the world, but let's take some time to talk about your personal life and what's going on with you because you have so many fans and there's a lot of confusion about what's happening with you and your court cases. And I told you we'd take some time to clear the air. Is there anything you'd like to tell the people about what's going on with you?
Well, you know, it's just amazing to me. People are able to do things to me because I'm an old man, 74 years old. I can't see very well anymore. Don't hear very well either. But being an old man, younger people can do things to me because I'm an older man, and they get away with it. While if I try and tell someone what's happening to me, I sound like an old man crying in his beer.
Hmm.
And so I hesitate to tell the world what's actually happening to me because I know I get emails from people saying, "Why don't you just dry up? You're always talking about you're telling us about your private life. We don't care about your private life. Just go on and talk to us and tell us all this information that you're giving to us for free." So it doesn't cost us anything. We'll sit and listen to Jordan for hours and learn all kinds of wisdom and knowledge. Well, we don't want to hear about your private life. We don't care if you're dying, if your mother died. We don't care one way or the other. And if somebody ripped you off and stole everything from you, who cares? Just talk to us about your work.
Oh,
And so I've had so many emails, and you go on blogs, all the different blogs. That's why I pulled off the comments on my Jordan Maxwell show. I pulled off the blogs and the comments because
mm-hmm.
most of the comments were saying things like that. We don't care about your private life. We don't care what's going on with you.
Mm.
Just talk to us about your work. We want to be entertained.
Oh, that's super sad, but I think that's got to be the minority of people. I think a lot of people really do respect you and do really love your work and really want and they do care about your well-being, man. I think that the majority of people uh they do care about you, I believe.
Well, I know, and I know you're right. I know that, but it hurts my feelings. It hurts my heart
Of
to
course.
see people writing me on my own website saying things like they did. The one that finally took the straw, and I just have my people take the comments off completely. Somebody wrote me and said, "Why don't you get a coffin somewhere and go die?
Oh my God.
Why don't you just get a coffin? All that silly crap you talk about, all that law stuff is bull crap. It's all a bunch of baloney. Why don't you just go get a coffin and go die?" And
That's
so I
just
thought,
people. That's people projecting their own frustrations because we just talked about for an hour and a half how stuck people are, and I think that they're just projecting that onto you. And I know it can sting, man. I know it can. I get messages like that too. You get 1,000 good ones and one bad one. You remember the bad one.
that's exactly right. The good men dies with them. The bad lives on forever.
It's
Yeah.
not right.
So, but what's happened to me is that I've been torturously interfered with. I had a webmaster, young man, 28 years old, ponytail, considering himself to be a brilliant orator and a brilliant intellectual. He's just a kid, 28-year-old, and but he's got a delusion of grandeur. But he came to meet me one day and said, "Oh my God, I just love what you're doing, Jordan. I just think you're the best," and et cetera, et cetera. And I was sleeping on the floor in an airbag in one dirty room in Tarzana, California. Got nothing, own nothing, have nothing. I have no credit cards, no property, no home, no family. Got zero, nothing. At that particular time, I was sleeping on the floor with nothing. And he came and he thought he was going to come see a big a movie star, some big shot movie star. And he found out, no, I paid a dear price to be who I am. And so he said, "Oh my God," he said, "let me help you. Oh, I want to help you." And I said, "Well, that would be nice. I wish somebody would help me." "Oh, I want to help you." So let me know, what can I do? And I said, "Well, I'd like to have get my website back and get back to work." "Oh, I'll be a webmaster. Let me do that, and let me do this, and I'll do that." And I said, "Well, I need somebody to do fulfillment, to fulfill the orders." "Oh, let me do that. I'll do that." So I said, "Okay, I'll give you 50% of everything if you'll just handle my website for me and fulfill the orders. Whatever we make, you keep half of it." I was trying to be generous. Half, 50%. Then after I give him all the information about my website, he goes in behind my back, and because he's got his own passwords, he's got his own username. I don't know what his username is. I don't know what his password is. So I give him my website. He goes in and he now controls my website because he's my webmaster. But what I don't know is that he changed the password so it's no longer my password. He changed the username so it's no longer my username. Now I'm locked out. The next thing he did is go in there at the back end of the website and put his name as the owner, his name as the contactee, his name as the guy who owns it all and controls it all. And I didn't know that he changed it all to his ownership. Then what he did is he took my email, of which I had about 24,000 names of people I've been dealing with. He took my email and rerouted, I didn't know, rerouted my email to himself. And so people would write me personal things, to my email. It was going to him, not to me. And then I found out he took my money. And then I found out from a friend of mine who did the checking for me that all of my products, my videos, my books, and everything I've done, everything I've worked to produce, he sent affidavits to Washington, D.C. and copyrighted everything I own. So now he owns everything I did, everything I've ever done. He owns it. He's copyrighted.
Oh my God!
Then he went behind my back. All of this is readily available on the web. Go to the Copyright Office and type in my name. You'll see all of my work is copyrighted by someone else. Then he went to the Trademark Department, Washington, D.C., filled out an affidavit under penalty of perjury on a federal document saying that he was the one that came up with the name Jordan Maxwell. It's his creation, so he wants to trademark that name. So he was going to trademark my name so that he owns my name, not only my money, my website, my email, everything else, and my products, but now he owns me. He owns my name.
Wow.
Well, the feds caught him on that one. That one he got caught on because he filled out an affidavit on the penalty of perjury on a federal document because he's such a brash criminal. He couldn't care less. He's a 28-year-old, ponytail, arrogant criminal. And so they caught him on that one. And the Trademark Department called and said, "Did you give Joseph Dolezal permission to trademark your name?" I said, "I did not." And they said, "Well, we didn't think so because we turned this over to our legal department. This boy has filed an affidavit on the penalty of perjury. We're turning this over to our legal department." So then now he backs off of that one. The feds finally caught him on that one. So at this point in my life, I don't own my website. I don't have any private emails. It all goes to him. He's been promoting my videos while he's libeling my name in public.
And so people know this is jordanmaxwell.com, right? All the things that are for sale on jordanmaxwell.com, all the donations that are being solicited on jordanmaxwell.com, that does not go to you, correct?
No, at all. For 4 years, I've never seen a nickel. I don't own it. I have nothing to do with it. And he sends out emails asking for donations, saying, "Hi, this is Jordan Maxwell. I really appreciate everything you do, and I need some financial support." So then now that I have my own email for the first time, I'm getting a lot of emails from across the country saying, "Jordan, we've been sending money for the last 4 years, donations here and donations there, thinking it was you. Now we find out it says Joseph Dolezal's been taking the money. And we've been buying products off of your website thinking it was from you. Now we find out that you haven't owned nothing for 4 years." This guy, so that's mail fraud. You can go to prison for that.
Yeah.
That's jail time. That's jail time.
So you are getting this worked out, correct? This is going to have a good ending for you, I hope.
Well, I hope so too, but 4 years I've been hoping and nothing's happening yet. But the only thing that is happening is that I have an attorney, which I was introduced to, who is an entertainment copyright attorney. That's what he does. And he's a very good one in Los Angeles. And because I happen to have a mutual friend who introduced me to him, and he took a look at what was going on in my life and what's happening to me, and he was shocked, and he said, "This guy is a criminal. He's not only taking money, he's lying, mail fraud, torturous interference, filling out federal documents under penalty of perjury. This guy is a top of the line criminal." Then we found out, the attorney found out, he's got 2 other federal convictions already.
Oh my
God! And
so,
yeah, he's already got two felonies. So then, my lawyer said, "Look, let me take this case. I don't care if you can pay me or not. Somebody's got to stop this guy. Somebody's got to put him in jail. Give it to me. Let me have it." And I said, "I don't have any money. He stole my money too. He owns everything." He said, "I'll take it anyway. Give it to me. I'm going to put this guy in jail. Give it to me." So I did. So now I've got a great top of the line lawyer. It's on my website, his name, and so all I'm able to do, because I had a Kickstarter.
Yes, it's what you came on the show to do. Is I thought we were going to help you promote that Kickstarter, and then I learned about all this other stuff. But yeah, the Kickstarter's been taken down, correct?
Yeah, the Kickstarter's taken down. Why? Because the Kickstarter had 2 Facebook pages, and I had over 17,000 fans on one Facebook page alone. Well, this guy, Joseph Dolezal, contacted Facebook and said, "I own Jordan Maxwell, period. So take it down now." So my 2 Facebook pages were taken down. Then I had 3 versions of a YouTube promo video for the Kickstarter. He contacted YouTube and take them down. I had 1 promo video on the Kickstarter from Vimeo, Vimeo promo. They took that down. I had a Twitter account for the Kickstarter. He contacted Twitter and they took that down. Now I'm told that he's in the process of getting the Kickstarter taken down immediately, because he wants to destroy my work and he wants to own it all, period. And so my attorney said, "Well then, look it, just drop the Kickstarter because he's going to take it down. It's going to come down. But the one thing he cannot touch, and he's tried to over and over, and it don't work, is the only presence I have on the web is called Jordan Maxwell Show. It's a podcast. But the reason he can't touch that is because I don't own him. When we first did the first podcast, I knew this thug criminal is going to come out of this radio show and take it down. So I signed it over and gave the rights to someone else. So that other person owns my radio show. Therefore, he cannot say that that it's mine and he can take it down. No, it belongs to someone else, and he's really going to have to fight in court to do that. So he can't take it down. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting, because I took the Kickstarter down because it's going to come down anyway, and just put a donate button on my website and say, if you want to help Jordan Maxwell, then just donate, because the Kickstarter is not going to work.
Okay, and just so people know, you do not go to jordanmaxwell.com. You go to it's jordanmaxwellshow.com.
That's it, exactly. jordanmaxwell.com does not belong to me for 4 years. All the products that have been sold, all the donations going in, all the private emails going to jordanmaxwell.com goes to a ponytail criminal who's going to jail.
God, what a fucking disaster.
It's an incredible disaster. But I didn't know. I'm an old man. I got some young guy comes in and says, I want to help you. And I needed help, so I accepted him as a friend and turned around and found out, no, he came in as a criminal. That's why it's not shocking that he would do the things he's doing, because he was already a criminal. I didn't know that.
Right. It's very suspicious, too. It's very suspicious why someone like that would find someone who specifically deals with this type of research at such a high level. It's very suspicious that this kind of character would find his way to you.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the same thing, and that's what my attorney said. He said, this looks awful dark. This very well might be something more than what you think it is, but I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of it. Give me this case. We've got him on fraud. We've got him on misrepresentation, wire fraud. We've got him on 6 different cases of wire fraud, accepting donations in your name, misrepresentation of material facts. We've got him with torturous interference. We've got him on this, got him on that. This guy is going to jail. And he said, so give it to me, I'll do it. So, but I have to pay the attorney. He's already putting a lot of money out of his own pocket, and I appreciate it, but I do want to pay my attorney. And if I can make enough to pay him, I would also like to continue the radio show. But that costs money. And see, the people who have been working on my jordanmaxwellshow.com, they're free podcasts. Well, the people who are doing that have been doing it for free. The station has been giving me the time and the facilities and everything, and the other people working on the website for it have been doing it for free. But the station has come to the point where they said no longer, we can no longer do it for free. And I'm ashamed to ask the people to continue to work on the website for free. So I have to pay them make some sort of a stab at making some sort of a payment to the station and to the people so I can continue to do the podcast. But all of that costs money. But the first, I need to get rid of this criminal out of my life. And he's not the only one. It's his brother and his father. All 3 of them are criminals because they own a company called Momentum Development, and they have taken everything from me and taken it all. So I've got a good attorney now. I've got a good lawyer, top-of-line guy, and he's going after him. But I got to pay him, and I don't have anything. I live from one day to the next with a friend of mine. I have nothing. So that's why I put that, they put that button on Jordan Maxwell Show. But stay away from jordanmaxwell.com and buy nothing from there, because none of it for 4 years has gone to me. None of it.
What a sad and shocking story. It's so frustrating, especially for someone like me. But after all the work that you have done, a whole lifetime of work, a lifetime you cannot get back, some fucking kid is just screwing with you, man. And it's such a disservice that you've helped so many people, you've given knowledge to so many individuals, that one guy, it only takes one asshole to really screw that up and to affect you in a really personal way. And it's a damn shame. And I'm embarrassed to be a human being with someone like that, man. It's such a shame because I am such a fan of your work.
Well, I know, I feel the same way, but his brother is what's his name? Jacob, Jakub, Jacob, because they're from the Czech Republic, and so his brother's name is Jacob. His name is Joseph, Josef, Joseph Dolezal, and that's on the web. You can just go like I said, to the trademark department and to the copyright department and go on the web. It's my lawsuit's out there. It's on the court of records. It's all out there on the web.
Okay, so I don't need to censor anything you've said in the past 10, 15 minutes?
Say it again?
I said, so I don't need to censor anything you've said in the past 15 minutes or so.
No,
It's all
not
out
at
there?
all. Not at all.
Okay, because sometimes with court cases, you never know.
Yep, no, it's all out there. It's all out in the public.
Okay.
But so anyway, his brother Jacob calls me on the phone a couple of years ago and says, "Jordan, you need to come over here. We need to talk to you." That means his father, his brother, and they want to talk to me. So I go over to the house and he says, "Look we got a new deal for you, old man. The new deal is this. Jacob says, I'm going to be your new manager, and I'm going to be your agent. And I'm going to get you on radio shows, and I'm going to get you speaking engagements at conferences, and you're going to get off your lazy ass and get out there and start making this family some money. So get off your lazy ass, old man. We own you." That's what his words were to me at 73 years old.
Wow.
So, 28-year-old pup talking to a 70-year-old man. And my lawyer says also we have them on elder abuse, financial elder abuse. That carries a penalty too. I'm 74 years old and being talked to like that by Jacob Dolezal. I've been, my money, everything's been taken from me.
Wow.
So I have faith that eventually it's all going to come out, and when it does, they're going to jail.
Yeah. What a wild story.
Yep.
That's so sad, man. But I know I personally have been wondering, for quite some time where you've been. I haven't heard very many interviews from you come out, so I definitely had been wondering. It's good to have the air cleared.
Well, that's the reason.
Right.
But I'll tell you the reason why you haven't heard from me, because anything I do is going to draw attention to my website, jordanmaxwell.com, to which they will benefit from.
So I'm sure there's a lot of research you've done in the past 4 years that you've just haven't been able to get out there. A lot more current stuff that you haven't been able to talk about.
No. I have a terabyte. I've got 12,
oh my God.
I've got 12 different external hard drives. Half of them are 4 terabytes, and the other half are 2 and 1 terabyte.
Oh.
And I have a terabyte, which is 1,000 gigs, waiting for the day when I get my website back and get someone to handle my website for me that I can trust, because I've got hundreds and hundreds of new documents, all kinds of dark stuff that nobody's ever heard of. I've been working behind the scenes, hoping that one day I'll get my life back, my name, my work, my website, my money, my products. I'll get it all back one day.
Well,
before I leave this world at 74 years old, I'd like to leave this world intact. I'd like to have what belongs to me given back to me, and this thug goes to jail.
And it's so important. It's so important for the conspiracy community to hear that, and to, we sit and we listen a lot. We do a lot of listening in this educational circle jerk. It's what I've been calling it. But there are times for action on a massive scale and on a small scale, and this is one of them. Jordan is not a young man, and he's got mountains of information he'd love to give to you, but, he's being raked over the coals. And this is a time to try to help somebody out who has helped you out for decades. So I would like to see the conspiracy community come together for just this purpose, to give back to somebody who's given a lot to us, and hopefully, I don't know what exactly people can do to further things along, but at least just support the man and support this situation, and let's get it resolved, and let's get to that new information while Jordan's still around to give it to us.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff out there, about me, all kinds of stories and lies and half-truths and innuendos about me. I've been maligned by so many people out there. People who dream up stuff about me. They have no idea who I am, never met me, but they say things about me. And then other people pick that up and say, oh, really? Okay. And then they put it out there. And before you know it, somebody else picks up on it. And before you know it, all over the world, there's all kinds of lies, distortions about me. And I sleep on the floor with nothing. And so people who actually know me, come to visit me and see me, they know who I am. They know what's happened. But the world at large is only given so much to understand. And there's so much out there that is derogatory and lying and deception. And I know why, because he told me. Joseph Dolezal said, I'm going to ruin your name out there. You think you're going to walk away from me, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, old man. You ain't doing nothing. I'm going to disgrace your name. I'll dream up anything I want, put it out there, because I'm from the Czech Republic, and I don't give a damn about your American laws. I don't care about your laws. The money. Wow. You're going to make me money. And so he puts stuff out on me and puts it on my own website and puts out stuff like Jordan Maxwell, Master Defrauder, and all kinds of, and then the world picks that up, and now they're going out and talking about stuff that he put out, and so I just sit here watching my life and my name and my work and everything I've worked for being raped, destroyed, libeled, and so I just sit here in the last days of my life watching some young punk destroy everything I've ever worked for.
Gosh.
So, I just said, well, whatever, do the best I can.
Well, you are a living legend, and you definitely have my respect. And I don't have a lot of resources, but I've told you off the air, if there's ever anything I can do or in any way I can be helpful, or if you ever want to come on the show and address anything that's going on and you don't have really a way to get out on the internet or whatever I can do, I'll always be willing to help you out, man.
Well, appreciate it.
I'm sure so many other people feel that way too, but this has been an amazing time. You told us so much information, and hearing the personal story is, it's really sad, but I'm glad that there's some clarity on it because people have been wondering. So,
well, just remember, do not have anything whatsoever to do at all with JordanMaxwell.com.
Okay.
Because that website for 4 years has been in the hands of a criminal that has taken everything from me. Okay. And so anything that goes to that website goes to him and his family. And so if you want to contact me, if you want to follow anything I'm doing, the only presence I have on the web is Jordan Maxwell Show.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I have decided not to take any more comments, because I'm very hurt by the ridicule and the things which are said to me by those who don't mind hurting other people. Mm. So like I said, I got an email saying, "Why don't you get a coffin and go lay down and die somewhere?"
God.
That hurts me because I've tried to do all my life. So I decided, you know what? I just don't want to hear any more comments, period. I'm tired of hearing comments by people who couldn't care less. They don't know me. And I've got a lot of comments saying, why don't you just talk to us about your work? We don't give a damn about your private life. We don't care who's ripping you off. So I've just pulled down the comments. But if you have a comment, you want to say, something of value, just go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and you can send in an email and I'll get it. So,
okay, well, that's good to know.
So that's good, and that's all I can say. And of course, I got a donation button there too. If you want to help me, then that would be nice too, because I got a lawyer I got to pay.
All right. Well,
and a radio show I got to pay for too.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, it's been great talking to you. I I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's been quite a while already. So thanks so much. You are welcome back anytime. The door is wide open. It's been an honor for me and a milestone on my journey. So take care of yourself. Thanks so much, and good luck with all your troubles, man.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
There we have it, people. An honor and a privilege to spend a little time with a guy like Jordan Maxwell.